It was just like any other day. I was working doing ice cream, and it was on the same street I lived on, so it was a bike ride away. I was about 3 blocks away from my house, and I saw a gentleman pull out in front of me. He grabbed my handlebars and had a gun. He told me to get off my bike and get on my knees. He told me if I didn't, he would kill me. And he sexually assaulted me. It's the first thing that goes through your head is why? Why me? Why didn't he murder me? She had her whole life ahead of her, and I was the one that survived. I had to relive it every day, 25 years. And he did the same thing, even worse to her.
In August of 1996, Debbie Dorian had recently graduated from California State University of Fresno.
There's Debo, taking up the heavy stuff. All right, don't drop it, don't drop it.
She lived in the North Creek apartment complex, which is 4 or 5 miles just north of campus.
We had just finished our briefing that we usually have in the morning. I was told that there was a female that was found in her apartment.
Peter Dorian, Debbie's father, and Debbie had made plans that Debbie was to drive to Peter, her father's house, Thursday, August the 22nd. She had planned to arrive around 7 a.m.
She didn't show up, so after a brief amount of time, he went to her apartment.
Knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, and received no answer. He then turned the doorknob and pushed the door open, and it opened, which it shouldn't have because his daughter, Debbie, was very security conscious, would never leave her door unlocked.
He went into the apartment, didn't see her in the living room or dining area or the kitchen, and then went towards the back part of the apartment.
The TV was on, so he began to call for her and received no answer. He then began to look throughout the apartment, and he found the most horrific sight that any parent could encounter. And that was his daughter, Debbie Dorian, lying in the middle of her bedroom floor on the carpet, on her side.
She was naked from the waist down. Her shirt was pulled up.
Her ankles were duct taped. Her hands were duct taped behind her back. And she had duct tape completely covering from the top of her head down to her jaw.
We couldn't see her face. Obviously, she wouldn't have been able to breathe at all.
Peter Dorian did what any parent would do. He thought if he tried to take off the duct tape, she would be able to breathe, which was impossible.
He immediately went to her phone in her apartment. He found that the phone was unplugged. Tried to plug it in, didn't seem to be working. He was very frantic.
Peter Dorian is in such a state of shock, he actually calls his wife, Debbie's stepmother, first. She's the one who calls 911.
Go ahead, ma'am. My husband just called and went to his daughter's apartment. She didn't show, and he found her dead in her apartment. Okay, tell me what your daughter's name is. Her name is Deborah Dorian.
And then Peter makes another devastating phone call to his ex, Debbie's mom, Sarah Loven.
Well, he was just, straight on with, Deborah's been killed. I ran screaming through the house. No, 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 no. And that's all I could say was no, no, no. It just feels like somebody took a great big spoon and carved out your heart.
Debbie was working towards her degree in economics, but she was also thinking about going to graduate school.
When I spoke to Peter, he said that they were going to go to some other colleges to look at ideology programs because Debbie was looking at following in her dad's footsteps as being an ideologist.
That particular apartment complex was inhabited with numerous college students. It's an area where that type of crime does not occur.
Vince Zavala spent 18 years with Fresno police and had just joined the California Bureau of Investigation before getting the call about Debbie Dorian's murder.
This is where Debbie lived. It must have been crawling with investigators.
Crawling with investigators, crawling with people who were worried.
You had crowds gathering.
There were crowds, yes.
According to police, Debbie's dad found her body in her bedroom early this morning.
There was no forced entry that we could see. I didn't see major disturbance in the living room or kitchen area.
August 1996, my title was a scene criminalist, and I remember going to the scene. It looked like she had just made a sandwich, so the sandwich was there with some Doritos. I also remember going into the kitchen. There was a bag of Fruit Loop cereal that had been open, it was ripped open.
A couple of things are possibilities. One, she knew this individual and let him in. Two, he displayed some kind of a weapon immediately, and she complied with his commands to allow him into her residence.
Obviously, one of the things that does come to mind is whether or not it's a serial type of thing, mostly because of the sophistication of how she was taped.
The coroner determined Debbie's cause of death was due to suffocation because the duct tape had covered her entire head.
In situations like this, the pathologist that did the examination, he knew right off the bat that he was going to do a sexual assault kit just because of the way she was found.
There was semen found on the victim, and then there was saliva sample that was found, and they came from the same source. They were the same individual.
This profile was, as soon as possible, uploaded into the National DNA Databank. There was no hit.
In 1996, I was a lieutenant in the Fresno Police Department, assigned as the public information officer. It was frustrating that we had DNA evidence, but we had no one to tie it to.
I knew it was a tough one, and so I immediately volunteered anything I could do to help them with that case before I took it over.
What made you think, oh, this is tough?
Because they were hitting brick walls left and right. It was a whodunit. And those are the most difficult homicides to solve.
But an eyewitness is about to offer a major clue.
He had seen an individual approach Debbie's store.
A short conversation to the effect, "Oh, hi, how are you?"
There is some very evil, demented predator out there.
You're thinking, we have a murderer on the loose.
We didn't know if, when, and where he was going to strike again.
Strike it rich. Advertise in the Fresno Bee Classified.
8.7 KRZR, Hanford, Fresno. I'm Dave Rogers.
It's the tragic story of a young woman's life that ended too early.
Debbie's murder was immediately covered by every television station, every radio station in this area. Front page news.
The Debbie Dorian case definitely stayed with me. The horrific way that she was killed, and then the terrible impact on her family, and especially her father.
Debbie's dad found her body in her bedroom early this morning.
Just the thought of him finding her like that, it's just really unimaginable.
And bad news, as they say, spreads like wildfire. Just as the whole town is hit by the news of Debbie Dorian's murder, her childhood friends, Katina and Heather, are learning about it too.
I heard it on the news. It showed her apartment, and they gave her name.
Family members and neighbors say Debbie Dorian, a Fresno State student, worked hard and had plans to specialize in audiology.
And I couldn't believe it, so I immediately called Katina. And she goes, something's happened to Debbie. And I said, Debbie who? Because it wasn't registering with me. And she goes, Debbie, you're Debbie. And she said, Debbie's been murdered. And I slammed the phone down and I lost control.
The fear triggered by Debbie Dorian's murder was felt throughout the entire city of Fresno. But the hardest hit, right here, in and around the campus of Fresno State, where her fellow students were left not just grieving her loss, but grappling with their own fears for their safety.
There was a bubble around Fresno State, you know, and a hush, and people were whispering, and there was a lot of fear.
That's about that time blue light started going up. I mean, just the awareness started going up about not walking to your car by yourself. You know, just all the things that we tell people today just started being said right about that time.
It struck fear into Fresno.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Our parents were worried and everything, yeah. Fresno's a sleepy little farm town.
Fresno's located in the heart of California. We like to say that we're a big city, but we have a small town feel.
Not only is the temperature nice and warm in the summers, but people are wonderful here. And we have a sort of a farming, you know, mentality. And if you're not in ag, you know somebody that's in ag.
We produce more agriculture in Fresno County than anyone else in the world. But we also pride ourselves on just that community feel.
We really have such a sense of family that we feel that, you know, Debbie was not only the Dorian's child, but she was Fresno's child too. It's frightening to think that that this could happen to Debbie, because if it could happen to Debbie Dorian, it could have happened to any of us.
You're on camera, guys!
She's the daughter that so many people have, that you were afraid to let go to college because you didn't want anything bad to happen to her.
She had a really bubbly personality. Always ready for a joke and a laugh.
Brawl time, Deb. Brawler.
Yeah, she was a big people person. We hung out at each other's houses a lot of girl talk. Go to the movies.
We would cruise.
We'd drive, waste gas.
What was on the radio?
I think it was CNC Music Factory, maybe. Pearl Jam, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses.
103.7 KRZR. Dave Rogers here. Time for your concert update, brought to you by Budweiser.
She went to Fresno State, and she studied economics. She was president of the Econ Club.
She sounds like the Golden Girl.
Yeah. There literally is not a day that goes by that I don't think about her.
We tried to determine basically what her lifestyle was like, whether or not she hung around with people who might cause or have some kind of dealings that would cause this to happen.
We formed a timeline of Debbie's actions prior to her murder. Debbie was killed between roughly 12 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon on August the 20th, 1996.
One of Debbie's neighbors did report that he had seen an individual approach Debbie's door, and he noticed the individual because he didn't recognize him. He wasn't somebody that was normally in the area.
There appeared to be a short conversation, something to the effect, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And that's all he saw.
But nobody knew who it was. They only had a description of it being a white male, a certain age and height.
With no obvious signs of forced entry, detectives quickly turn their attention to any white males that Debbie knows, including her boyfriend, John Thomas.
I knew he would be a suspect. I mean, it's obvious. The first people they look at are people that they care about and that they're close to.
There's always that side of you that says, well, if he wasn't involved, he's going through some traumatic experiences right now. But as your job is, you have to interview him.
My name is John Thomas. As of August 1996, we've been dating approximately 2.5 years. Debbie was very outgoing, very extroverted, fun to be around. I was doing contract work for the U.S. Forest Service northeast of Fresno. I left town approximately a week before she was murdered.
Since a sexual assault was involved in this murder, we had to ask John Thomas some tough sexually related questions.
You actually get angry because, and I know why they're asking the questions, but it's almost like a character assassination. It's hard to hear things said about this person that you love that's been murdered.
We were able to determine that John Thomas, at the time of Debbie's murder, was assigned to fighting a fire in Northern California. I asked for a DNA sample from John Thomas, and he voluntarily provided one. He was eliminated as being a donor of the DNA.
The last time I saw her was 10 days before she was killed. It was John's graduation. She'd had her hair done and a new outfit, and she was beautiful.
That would be the last videotape of her, and they'd be some of the last pictures taken of her. It's hard to look at him today still, so.
John Thomas is fully cooperating and able to offer investigators critical information about Debbie in the weeks leading up to her murder. Turns out, Debbie had been looking for a roommate.
That sent up a really big red flag.
She put ads and flyers up, which was pretty typical. I think a couple of people had fallen through, so I know that, that could be stressful.
I think she was getting desperate. She needed to get some finances so that she could pay her bills. She needed somebody soon.
Could it be that someone who had come to visit her apartment did this? That became something that concerned us.
She had some papers on her dining room table with names on it.
A list of prospective roommates becomes a list of people of interest.
She opened the door for somebody.
So who was on the other side of that door?
A police spokesman says the department has 2 detectives working full-time on the Debbie Dorian murder case.
They had a tremendous amount of pressure because the police had very little to go on. It's not usually a one-time thing. Somebody doesn't commit a one-time horrendous crime. They commit it again.
And one lead jumps right to the top of the pile, her search for a roommate.
She had put ads in the paper, she had posted flyers at Fresno State, and she had a list of people's names on her table.
Anytime you have a list of people that you believe have had recent contact with the victim, those people are going to be persons of interest.
A few of the names I remember specifically, one was Alvin, one was Laura, and one was Nick or Rick.
There was a person named Alvin who had actually made contact with her in person.
Alvin called the police department after he heard the news and said, hey, I was supposed to rent a room from the girl that was murdered. I was at the apartment. He had provided a deposit and signed an agreement with Debbie to take the room, but he hadn't received a key yet.
Alvin doesn't fit the neighbor's description of the white man he saw outside Debbie's apartment. Alvin is black, in his early 20s, and over 6 feet tall.
Detective Garcia's the interview with Alvin. What did you do when you went there? I knocked on the door. She invited me in. What time was it that you got there? 6, 7.
We thought it was a little unusual that she would have a male roommate.
It was strange because she didn't rent to men, but I know how desperate she was to get a roommate.
What do you think about living with someone who's got a boyfriend? Actually, I thought it was kind of really weird. But on the other hand, I felt like, there was a problem. That's her problem, not mine.
A background was conducted, and it was determined that he was a sex registrant in the state of California.
That definitely sent some alarm bells going off in investigators' heads because of the circumstances around Debbie's death.
That must have made you think, oh boy.
Absolutely.
And then he tells you something odd about going back to the apartment.
He went back because he was concerned, since Debbie didn't answer the door, that maybe she was taking his money.
He told me something about the doorknob. Do you remember what that was? On Wednesday night, I knocked on the door. Nobody answered. The blinds were open. The TV was on. From what I could see on the wall. And when I knocked on the door, nobody answered. I tried the door. Unlike most of the time, the door was unlocked.
Of course, this raises big questions. He admits turning the door handle and finding it unlocked, but he says he doesn't enter. That statement must have struck you as odd.
Absolutely.
So you're questioning Alvin about his alibi, and he gives you another name.
Yes.
And that is?
Maurice.
Alvin and Maurice Dixon worked at the same place, a business called Grocery Outlet. They were friends at that time.
Dixon at that time was 28 years old. He was an Army veteran. He didn't have any criminal record.
He transported Alvin to Debbie Dorian's apartment on several occasions. And on some of those occasions, he accompanied Alvin to the front door of Debbie Dorian's apartment. However, he never entered. never met Debbie Dorian, never been inside her apartment, and as I recall, never really had a conversation with her.
So you've never seen this girl, don't know what she looks like, never talked to her?
No, not from all this started happening at first. You know, I never seen her, just heard her voice on the phone. And then recently, like when we were talking, I've seen a picture on the news.
During the interview, he stuck to the story that he'd never met Debbie. We started getting into some of his sexual background.
I'd like to, go over to her house and check your things. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. I think I have the receipt for it in my checkbook. I bought 2 things of duct tape to tie up the ends of the rope.
He said that the only duct tape he ever had was for a punching bag that he had at his home. That was a little suspicious to us, that he would volunteer that kind of information. He wasn't told we were looking specifically at duct tape, that we were only looking at bondage type of things.
Dixon says he had been asked specifically about duct tape in an interview with another detective, which is why he brought it up.
What made you mention that? Somebody mentioned duct tape or something like that. Do you have any duct tape, or do you know anything about duct tape or something?
When was that?
That was when I first came to question.
But investigators' eyebrows are officially raised.
We were able to get consent to search his home, found the punching bag that he had used that had duct tape around it.
It didn't match up with the duct tape that was used on Debbie's body, or that was located on Debbie's body. The DNA from Debbie's body was compared to Alvin, and he was excluded as being the contributor to that DNA.
Alvin was eliminated. Maurice Dixon's sample was also submitted to see if we could exclude, and he could not be excluded.
It didn't add up because he said he'd never been in her apartment. So the fact that he said that and that the DNA at least had a preliminary match, I think everyone thought he wasn't telling the truth.
Our investigation is that you were the one that did this.
No, I am not the one who did this. I have nothing to do with this at all. How many times I have to keep telling you, I did not go inside this apartment. I do not know this person. I never met her.
As a result of that test, Maurice Dixon was arrested and charged with the murder of Debbie Dorian.
When Dixon arrived home from work, undercover officers swooped in and he was arrested with his hands up right in the middle of the street.
He pleaded not guilty. His bail was set at over $1 million. I think the feeling was that the case had been solved. Most people thought it was over.
I think it's great. I mean, hopefully it's the right person.
But this case is far from over. As investigators keep digging, they're about to get a big surprise.
It was a surprise to the police, to the media, to everyone you could think of.
Maurice, you have to understand something, okay? You're under arrest for murder.
An arrest was made in the death of Deborah Dorian.
Police, out of nowhere, they made this arrest of a man named Maurice Dixon, who had gone to the apartment with his friend, who was responding to Debbie and her advertising for a roommate.
Residents were shocked that he is charged with Dorian's murder.
Yeah, very surprised. Yeah, this is quite neighborhood. You don't expect something like that. And like I said, especially coming from him.
Now, Dixon's arrest comes just 1 year after the O.J. Simpson verdict, the so-called trial of the century.
It was a vote of not guilty for O.J. Simpson and a vote of no confidence in the LAPD.
LAPD guilty!
At the time, the general public, especially in California, was more aware of DNA, but there was also more scrutiny of police investigations.
Well, actually, I don't want to go into race, but just knowing the background of a black man in society being arrested and the scared feeling that our family had with Maurice actually being in the system, really brought a lot of anguish to our family.
There was a lot of racialized tensions in the air at that time. O.J. Simpson's verdict had just come in. That came on the heels of Rodney King.
Hey, are we live? But to the people of South Central LA, that 30-hour rampage was more revolt than riot.
There was a lot of pointing fingers, but the police had reason to be looking at Maurice.
Oh, I definitely think there was a reason to look at him. He had been there in a very close proximity to the time that she was last heard from. And so, you know, he was definitely somebody that was on the list.
Maurice Dixon walked into court shackled at the hands and feet.
After Maurice Dixon was arraigned, police continued to investigate. So one of the things they did was conduct a more sophisticated DNA test.
You have to remember, at that time, DNA technology was changing rapidly. Investigators initially relied on one test that compared 6 markers, but were about to start using a more precise test, looking at 13 markers, similar to what labs use today.
It was a matter of weeks between the first test and the second DNA test, the more discriminating one.
That second, more powerful test reveals the DNA from the Debbie Dorian crime scene does not match Maurice Dixon. He is cleared and all charges are dropped.
Maurice Dixon had been in custody for a little more than 2 weeks. Tonight, he is free, and the investigation into the Debbie Dorian murder case returns to square one.
The fact that that DNA did not match, I think, was a surprise to the police, to Debbie's family, to the community, to everyone you could think of, except for Maurice Dixon, because he knew he didn't do it.
Right now, we don't want to comment at anything at this time. We're just happy that he's being released.
So after Maurice Dixon was released from jail, I interviewed him. He told us that, you know, he was living with the shadow over his life, that there was this air of suspicion around him. He was potentially facing the death penalty for a crime he didn't commit.
People, you know, stare at me and accusing me, but not knowing, you know, the full details of what happened.
I totally understand his feelings. I understand the family's feelings, but it was all part of my investigation.
We know that there's someone out there that have committed this crime, and basically the city is afraid again. We know it's hard on her family also, because they have to go through it again, waiting to see who they may arrest next.
I just, okay, we're back to square one. We need to rethink this. I worked with children, and I didn't want to be emotionally upset when I'm working with children. So for my lunch breaks, I go and cry for 20 minutes, and then I'd come back and we're okay for a while. You know, I just had to keep going, yeah.
Our future's been taken away. We will not see a wedding. We will not see grandchildren. She will not get to have a life. The one thing we can do, and the one thing we strive to do, is to get the person who did this.
Every time something like this happens, it's like pulling the scab off a wound.
Peter Dorian, her father, was very committed to keeping the case in the mind of the community, in the mind of media.
I would hope that a person would have the morality to come forward if they know something just because they want to help or they feel maybe a little guilt about something.
We put flyers everywhere. We put them all around Fresno State. We put them in all the businesses. The governor's reward was $50,000. Then our family reward was $10,000. So it's quite a big reward.
I can't live with myself unless we've done everything we can do to help solve the crime.
He was very active at first. I think it became so overwhelming that it just hurt too much to keep going. And so he decided he would retreat.
I remember receiving a telephone call from Peter, and he told me, he says, Vince, he says, I can't do it anymore. She'll forever be in my heart, but I cannot hold out hope any longer.
But Debbie's mom, Sarah, pushes forward, holding investigator Vince Zavala to a promise.
I made a commitment to her. I would never quit. And she asked me, well, what about when you retire? I says, well, I won't retire. I won't retire until I solve it. I've been a law enforcement officer for a little over 40 years, and I farmed all those 40 years in addition to working. With a cold case, you pour your heart and your soul into it and all the time you have, and hopefully you solve the case. It entails a lot of patience, just like farming. No matter what you're doing, you have to continue to farm, or all the time will be for nothing. So if I had to come out at night and work on the case during the day, I'd come out at night.
Vince Zavala is the man you want on your side. And when he gets a hold of something, he doesn't let it go.
Sarah often said that solving Debbie's murder was like a million-piece puzzle. If you keep putting one piece together, two pieces together, three pieces, you're eventually going to get a picture of who murdered her daughter.
And some of those pieces are about to fall into place.
Fresno police are looking for a Caucasian male in his late 20s, early 30s.
Thanks to a string of terrifying attacks just an hour from Fresno.
We feel he's a predator. He could strike at any time.
This was a person who was repeating.
And then the break investigators have been waiting for.
This guy is still around. We've got a shot at getting this guy now.
So this case became personal to Vince Zavala. He was determined to find Debbie's killer.
Some of the investigators on this case continue doggedly to work on it.
That's Fresno. You know that the Fresno PD never gave up. You know how frustrating it must be for them to just wake up every day and not know who did it, why did they do it, how did they do it.
Were there moments where you lost hope of solving the crime?
I never lost hope. I always had faith, but there were many, many times I was frustrated.
It stayed with the department, stayed with me, even to this day. There was this desire to solve the case, but we needed evidence.
Our investigation of the murder of Debbie Dorian focused basically on the Fresno area. Then I received a telephone call from our Fresno Regional Laboratory and was told that there was a DNA case-to-case hit.
Remember, the DNA from Debbie's case is already in that national DNA database, CODIS. And now, finally, after 6 years, another case is a match.
There was a lead where the DNA in Debbie's case matched suspect DNA in a sexual assault in Visalia. Visalia is about an hour away from Fresno to the south.
So in July 1999, there was a sexual assault occurred on the south side of Visalia. Over the period of the next 3 years, several other similar crimes occurred in Visalia. But I believe these crimes were committed by the same suspect.
In each of those cases, the suspect was described as a white male adult, in his 30s, generally from 5'6" to maybe close to about 6 foot, medium-sized build.
So his MO would be that he'd find a young woman, late teens, early 20s. He'd find her alone. He produced the gun, and he told them that he'd shoot them if they didn't do what he said.
He was described as either wearing a bandana over his face, or he was wearing a hoodie with the hood pulled up over his face. The victims described him as wearing black pants and black shoes, which eventually led us to think that maybe he was involved in the restaurant business.
Police aren't able to collect physical evidence from every assault, but in one case, they get lucky, collecting DNA from the suspect that will become the critical puzzle piece linking these assaults to Debbie Dorian's murder.
Jane Doe, number 1, was riding her bike home from work. A man approached her with a gun.
Tells her to get on her knees, fondles her under her clothing.
She was able to show investigators where the sexual assault took place, so they were able to collect DNA from that area.
And now they know that whoever left that DNA is also the person who murdered Debbie Dorian. They just don't know who it is.
It brought it to a whole new level because now we got a guy that is running around in the Visalia area that has killed before. It gets everybody's attention.
Once I heard of the case-to-case hit, I was so excited I jumped in my car and immediately went to Visalia. This guy is still around. We've got a shot at getting this guy now.
Working together, the team in Fresno and Visalia conduct background checks, interviews. They collect and test well over 100 DNA samples, but they just can't seem to hit their mark. They were chasing what seemed like a ghost, and the clock was ticking.
Once we had exhausted our leads in Visalia, we were desperate.
You never know when he's going to get the urge to hit again. You never know if he's going to escalate or whether he's going to go back to something else. He could strike at any time.
There were times I couldn't sleep at night because what can we do? So as the years go by, I said, you know what, we have to preserve the cases that we have.
You know, statute of limitations on sex crimes is 10 years in California, and we were approaching the 10-year mark.
So the clock is running out. The prosecutors decide, well, we have the DNA.
We have a commonality. We can identify this DNA profile.
We just don't have a name.
We just don't have a name.
Lieutenant Pewter wrote a John Doe warrant for the DNA profile, and that was very instrumental because what it did was preserve the statute of limitations.
The warrant officially stops the clock on the statute of limitations. It's the first of its kind in the county, say authorities, buying the team more time to find their John Doe.
We knew that if we could find this person, that we really had him, which, you know, is a big part of the puzzle.
A puzzle that's about to get some help from an unlikely source, a serial killer.
I'm sure the detectives back then couldn't imagine this. It's crazy.
I really felt this was going to crack the case.
A killer with decades-old secrets is in their sights.
Sorry, but we got to check all the boxes off.
And the victim, the survivor, who promised to take her attacker down.
All I remember saying is, I'm going to get you. You're not going to get away with it.
What went through your head when you realized the man who assaulted you is also charged with murdering somebody?
Why didn't he murder me?
Debbie's dad found her body in her bedroom early this morning.
If it could happen to Debbie Dorian, it could have happened to any of us.
This case is often referred to as a million-piece puzzle. This is just a sample, right?
This is a fraction of what was collected. Trace evidence, fibers, fingerprints.
We have to find this monster out there.
Have you ever seen that girl? No. You don't know her?
On the surface, he did seem like, you know, your next door neighbor.
His alter ego, Nick Steele, online.
More of a fantasy.
He talked about his bedroom looking similar to 50 Shades of Grey.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Her name was Debbie Dorian. You didn't kill her, did you?
Here's this boogeyman of your nightmares, and yet everyone described him as the guy who could be your neighbor.
Who was your neighbor?
Yeah, I hope you find him. I hope we do catch the guy.
Here in this quiet city of Visalia, nestled in the Sierra Nevadas, the same man who brutally murdered 22-year-old Debbie Dorian begins a brazen string of sexual assaults against other women. One of them is attacked riding her bike home from work. One tries to escape the predator by cutting through a field. And another, just a high school student at the time, attacked as she was walking home from school. Another is assaulted here while waiting for a bus. All of these women's identities have been shielded from the public by law enforcement, each of them referred to simply as Jane Doe. But tonight, for the first time, one of these brave survivors is stepping out of the shadows. We're rolling. You were Jane Doe #1 for many years.
Yeah.
But you're comfortable now with saying at least your first name.
At least my first name, yeah.
And you're comfortable going on camera.
I wasn't for a long time.
And when we sat down for her first interview, she told us she was ready to reclaim her voice, taking back what she says was stolen from her at just 19 years old when she moved to the Central Valley of California. It was your love of horses that drew you here.
Yes.
You kind of had your future mapped out in your head.
I wanted to be a horse trainer.
And you were an independent young woman.
Yes. That's what I thought.
And then you're riding your bike home from work one day.
I was about 3 blocks away from my house, and I saw a gentleman pull out of a street. It was 10:30 at night. There was nobody on the road. He grabbed my handlebars and had a gun.
And you saw the gun?
Yeah. Told me to get off my bike and get on my knees. He told me if I didn't, he would kill me. And I believed him. I was 19. You have a gun to your head and you do what you're told. And the whole time, all I remember saying is, I'm gonna get you. You're not gonna get away with it.
That's feisty.
Yeah.
With a gun pointed at you.
I didn't know what else to do.
Beth says the man concealed his face. She could only see his eyes in the dark. She was sexually assaulted. And then she says the man fled.
He told me to stay where I am, count to 10, and turn around and go home. If I turned around or tried to come and find him, he knew where I lived and he would kill me.
He told you he knew where you lived. That is so frightening.
By the time I got to my apartment, I threw my bike on the grass, called my sister. About a minute later, 4 detectives and police and everybody was in my apartment.
Jane Doe had the presence of mind to quickly report. Reporting patrol officers were able to quickly locate the crime scene and collect the DNA evidence.
And then over the course of the next 3 years, we had another 3 different crimes, all of similar MO. And really, it wasn't until maybe the 3rd or the 4th crime that we realized we had the same suspect and we had a pattern.
The DNA collected in Beth's case is compared to other crimes in the National Criminal Database, called CODIS. And that's when things take an unexpected turn. That case-to-case hit.
Whoever left the DNA at Debbie Dorian's crime scene committed that sexual assault. Knowing he was in the Visalia area was the first big boost we had since the murder of Debbie Dorian.
What went through your head when you realized the man who assaulted you is also charged with murdering somebody?
Why didn't he murder me? That's the first thing that came to my head. Because I asked when the murder was. It was 96, and mine was 99.
Why do you think you survived?
God only knows. I don't know.
And as the years clicked by?
I would get a phone call every 5 years or so saying my case is still open, and they're like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the call, and that was it.
The thought that we would never catch this guy was not something I wanted to live with, you know. For the victims in Visalia, and then for Dorian family, it's something that I wanted to do everything in my power to find this guy. Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
The string of attacks on women seems to suddenly end. But even though the perpetrator appears to have stopped, Vince Zavala won't.
In the Debbie Dorian case, we had over 286 pieces of evidence submitted for analyzation. Delia moved up the ranks and eventually became the director for the entire Fresno Regional Laboratory. Whenever I needed help pushing evidence through, I would call Delia.
He was very persistent. He would bring additional references, maybe registered sex offender cases that sort of look similar.
We collected DNA from over 146 individuals and compared to evidence left at Debbie Dorian's crime scene.
146 DNA tests. And that's on top of the mountain of evidence Vince has collected throughout the years and shared with new detectives who would join the case.
This is just a sample, right?
This is a fraction of what was collected at the evidence warehouse. It's just shelf upon shelf of evidence.
In 2018, after nearly 2 decades of investigating, this now very cold case is about to heat up, thanks to the arrest of another serial predator.
We have identified Joseph James DeAngelo as the sole suspect in the Visalia Ransacker crime series.
The Visalia Ransacker case was really kind of criminal lore throughout Visalia, throughout my entire career. Ultimately, that entire case would become the Golden State Killer.
We begin with that bombshell arrest. They say cutting-edge DNA testing allowed them to make a match.
I heard like everyone else, and then a thought came to my mind. Why couldn't we use the same DNA technology used to capture the Golden State Killer on Debbie Dorian's homicide case? Visalia Police Department worked on that task force, and I knew a lot of those detectives, and that started the ball rolling.
A very dear friend of mine who's the retired Sacramento County DA, Anne Marie Schubert, who was just an essential part of solving the Golden State Killer case.
We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
She called me and said, hey, we need to come down to Fresno because this technology is amazing. I'll bring my staff. And so then we started to work together with them.
Sacramento County, their DA's office, gave us a blueprint how to move forward with this new investigative technique.
They are able to come up with family members who are likely to be related to this suspect.
You can build out essentially a family tree and then start investigating backwards to see who are the relatives that could potentially be a suspect.
Within maybe a week, we got a lead.
And bells start to go off.
Exactly. A witness had seen a suspicious male outside of Debbie's apartment on the day in question. And as I read that description and I'm looking at the photograph of the suspect, I'm like, this is our guy. This really is.
The picture matched up to the descriptions. I'm like Mark, it was like, this is him.
Now 567 to the arrest team, stand by.
After nearly 40 years of being a detective and a farmer, the time finally comes for Vince Zavala to retire from his day job. But there is one unsolved case he can't let go of. It was tearing at your heart.
Absolutely, but I'd made a promise to Sarah. When I retired, I talked to Chief Dyer because we were friends.
I realized as a police chief, there's more than I can do, and it's bring Vince back.
He allowed me to come back as a reserve police officer, which gave me police officer powers when I was on duty, and that was important.
But no police officer pay.
I told him I didn't want to be paid.
With that genetic genealogy DNA match in hand, Vince was more hopeful than ever that his years of investigative work were about to bear fruit.
Probably the best lead we've had in over 23 years. This could very well be our guy.
They are able to take this genealogical DNA and ultimately they came up with a name, Nicky Dwayne Stain.
He married, had a couple of kids. His work history was very solid. No criminal past that we could see. This is a normal guy, but then you think, well, a normal guy could have committed this. That's why we haven't been able to find him. He was living in Visalia, in the city.
He raised his kids, was at the PTA. His focus was the family, and he did work for charity organizations.
Now that detectives have a name, they want to talk to this guy. They discover that he's been divorced and working at a food court in the local mall.
Turns out that early hunch that their suspect may work in the restaurant business was spot on.
We were all hands on deck. Let's do what we got to do. Let's get a DNA sample from him. Our primary mission was to look for anything that he would publicly discard that we could obtain a DNA profile from.
So we thought a trash run might be the best opportunity. My partner and I dressed down in plain clothes, put on a vest as if we were part of solid waste. We removed the trash cans from the street and replaced them with the empty trash cans.
It's called a surreptitious trash dump because once he throws it away outside on the street, it's free game.
We found male razor blades that appeared used and were discarded, and so we sent that up to be tested to see if it had any DNA on it.
I was excited, but I'd been excited before, so that kept me from totally jumping in.
But 2 weeks later, his phone rings.
I was at home. It was the middle of the day. I put it on speakerphone.
I said, hey, Vince, you got to sit down because I have news. We got the guy. It's him.
My wife was close
of work.
Nikki Stain was our 147th individual who we obtained a DNA sample from for comparison, and he was the match.
Okay, you're good. We're out of the car.
Their next stop is that shopping mall in Visalia to surprise Nikki Stain with a visit.
There's a couple of customers, Chris.
You don't feel comfortable with the other
We'll just wait, hang back.
Yeah, they're off.
I don't see how we're going to be able to talk to him over the counter. We went to his workplace asking for him. Hi, is Mr. Stain in?
Mr. Stain in?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Stain. My name is Vince Zavala. This is Bob Sodas. We're doing some grunt work here. We're looking into a matter that happened a while ago. Take 5 minutes. Okay. That's fine. We begin to ask him some questions. Have you ever seen that girl? No, you've never committed any violence against her.
No, I haven't done anything. I don't know her, so I wouldn't know how to.
Yeah. So have you never committed violence against anybody?
No violence against anybody.
But Vince hasn't waited this long and come this far to take no for an answer.
Her name was Debbie Dorian. She was found murdered. You didn't kill her, did you? No.
Nikki Stain denied knowing Debbie.
During our conversation with Nikki Stain, I told him, I says, look, we've been asking everybody we talked to if they would voluntarily give us an oral swab to compare to evidence that's at this scene. But if you haven't been there, I mean, you know, it's just kind of a mundane thing.
Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know, that sounds like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Stain refuses to turn over his DNA, and the interview seems to come to an end.
We thanked him for his time. As we were walking, Nikki Stain stops. He looks me in the eye, and he says,
yeah, I hope you find him.
I hope we do catch the guy, and thank you. Have a good day.
We had an arrest team standing by the exterior door.
257 to the arrest team, stand by.
Where he was going to have to re-enter the mall back to his place of work.
Nikki Stain.
Hi.
Put your hands behind your back.
Turn around, man. 5 seconds later, he's arrested.
He was ultimately arrested at that time on the sexual assaults from the Visalia cases.
Nothing on this person.
Shortly after Nikki Stain was handcuffed, I made a telephone call to Sarah.
He called me and he says, we actually have him. We have him in custody. And I said, really? Really? This is really something. Yeah, called all my friends, called everybody. Guess what? Yeah, it's really happening.
Go ahead and have a seat in it.
As police begin talking to Nikki Stain, they're about to discover that he is anything but the guy next door.
If you have my phone, you'll be able to see that because it has like 400 videos on it.
Turn around, man.
After Nikki Stain is arrested for the sexual assaults in Visalia, he's brought into the police department to be questioned.
Go ahead and have a seat in that chair right over here. Okay.
And to the surprise of detectives, he seems to have a lot to say.
Nick, do you know why you're here today?
Yeah, I do know why I'm here.
From the beginning of the interview, he knew why he was there for the Visalia cases, and we just let him talk.
I know I've done a couple things that here in Visalia that I shouldn't have done.
So when you say a couple things in Visalia, what are the couple things that you're talking about?
Oh, there's a couple times that I approached women that out on the street that they know and stuff and coerce them into having some kind of oral. And so those are things I shouldn't have done.
Against their will?
Yes.
Detectives then walk Nikki Stain through each of the sexual assaults he's accused of.
Suspect pulled sweatshirt over his face and then placed handgun in her side. He escorted the victim and concealed their location behind some bushes. requested the victim unbutton her shirt.
That might have happened. I think that one happened.
She was standing alone waiting to catch a bus. Suspect approached the victim. Suspect told the victim not to run or he would kill her.
I say that sounds like me, but I don't think that was me.
The worst thing that any defense attorney can hear is when you're questioned about a crime, it's like, well, I don't know, but it sounds like me.
Do you recall what you wore during those?
I recall wearing a hoodie or something like that.
With my demeanor, I think really brought some comfort to him to really open up about our sexual assault cases.
So, I kind of like had some bad things that go on in my life, and I can say that I've had a problem with I guess, sex or sex addiction. If you have my phone, you'll be able to see that because it has like 400 videos on it of probably 100 different women.
During my interview, he did mention that he began sleeping with prostitutes starting in high school, all the way up until his arrest.
I had so many encounters with women. I'm talking about like paid for encounters or this or that, or like start chatting with them and then all the next thing we know, we're doing something.
He did brag, seemed proud about his sexual promiscuity with prostitutes.
I'm a single guy for the last 2 years, and it seems like really the only women that pay me any attention are the younger ones.
He was happy to talk about himself and all the sexual things that he had done in his past. It was crazy. It was crazy.
I'll tell you the truth, I don't really think that hiring an escort or having a sugar babe or anything like that, I personally don't think that that's a wrong thing.
He talked about his bedroom looking similar to 50 Shades of Grey.
I had saw pictures of those types of dark rooms on the internet. I said I wanted to paint it that way. Now everybody who sees it says it's 50 Shades of Grey.
When they did the search, and he had these silk robes in his closet and sex toys.
During our investigation, we learned that Nicky Stain was operating an Airbnb operation out of his home. He would also rent rooms out to younger females. He talked about providing for these young females.
Investigators also find what appears to be a fake Facebook profile where Nicky Stain calls himself Nick Steele and claims to be chairman of a Fortune 500 company. His alter ego, Nick Steele,
yes,
online, pointed in a different direction.
Yes, I think more of a fantasy.
He also posted videos of himself on that Facebook page, going out to party.
Okay, I'm going out tonight.
Was he sort of baiting women online?
Oh, I don't believe so. I think it was more about, this is me. I'm capable of this. I'm so attractive. I'm so, my proudness is such that, these things happen in my life.
During our search warrant at his residence, we located that he had a wall plug camera in one of the roommates' bathrooms that was associated to a younger female.
There were also allegations of peeping Tom.
Yes. It's kind of a voyeurism, obviously, and then it steps into inappropriate actions.
Inappropriate actions that land Nicky Stain with a misdemeanor peeping charge. Stain pleads not guilty to the charge, which is eventually dropped.
He definitely had some sexual deviances.
But as Nicky Stain's defense attorney points out, sexual deviance doesn't necessarily equate to murder.
It was separate and apart. Usually people move forward as far as the seriousness of their crimes. And so it was odd that there was this homicide, but then later there's peeping Tom activity and assaults.
The violence seemed to de-escalate.
Yes.
And back in that interrogation room, when the conversation turns to Debbie Dorian's murder, Nicky Stain's not done talking yet.
The detectives there today before you guys arrested me, you brought up an interesting case. One that, it does shock me.
When detectives show up at the mall to confront Nicky Stain at his workplace, they ask him about Debbie Dorian. He claims he's never seen her before.
Have you ever seen that girl?
Nope.
Nope. You don't know her? Okay.
But when they get him into the interrogation room, he has a different story.
The detectives there today before you guys arrested me, he brought up an interesting case. I was with that girl, several times and stuff like that.
You were?
Yes, I was. So, to be honest with you, she was, I picked her up in Fresno there on the streets there at one time. After I dropped her off, I thought that was going to be the last time I seen of her. Okay. And then she, found her way to my workplace, on other occasions and asked me if I, would want to again.
He acknowledged that he did know Debbie and that he had been to her apartment multiple times for sex.
The stunning allegation that Stain and Debbie had met for consensual sex is something prosecutors dispute, but his new defense team will now try to prove. Brian Pinto is the defense's lead investigator.
I spent a lot of hours in the jail with Nicky Stain. He was probably one of the most intelligent clients I've ever had, but he was also one of the most complicated and mysterious.
Brian attempted to track down coworkers and acquaintances from Stain's past to back up his story.
Did you have any verifiable evidence that they had met before or that this was consensual in any way?
A lot of people that he gave me that would potentially back that story up were people that he worked with, that he only remembered first names.
There was some evidence that she may have gone into his place of work, but, we weren't able to really chase those folks down because it was so long ago.
There was nothing to support that she had come into contact with him in any other way. It was completely concocted.
After his police interview, Nicky Stain is booked, fingerprinted, and now that he's under arrest, has no choice but to turn over his DNA. The authorities reach out to Beth, who spent years as Jane Doe number 1, with the news she never expected to get.
They told me that they got him. Say that again. It took me a couple times for them to tell me that they got him and that there was going to be a press conference the next day.
It was the last press conference that I held as a police chief, so it meant a lot to me.
Nicky Dwayne Stain is the primary suspect in the rape and murder of Debbie Dorian.
I locked myself in my room and I watched it. And I bawled my eyes out. And all of those emotions that came back hard.
Nicky Stain is every woman's nightmare.
And what did you mean by that?
Nicky Stain looks like an average guy. He looks like a normal person.
He blends into the background.
Yeah, he blends in.
Almost 12,000 days of waiting, searching, hoping, disappointments, and frustrations. What this arrest has finished is the struggle to always be searching.
Nicky Stain is charged with 4 counts of sexual assault in the Visalia attacks and for the murder of Debbie Dorian. In 2020, the Fresno DA's office takes the lead on prosecuting the cases. Stain pleads not guilty to all the charges.
I'm the City Hall and Courts reporter at ABC 30 Action News here in Fresno. It was definitely a big story to walk into as a 22-year-old just a few months out of college.
Live at 5, clear to proceed. Nicky Stain could face...
The contrast between the two sides of this courtroom really could not have been any different. On the right side of this courtroom, you had Deborah Miller and Caitlin Drake, 2 very straight-to-the-point senior deputy district attorneys. And on the other side, you had Jane Bolger, somebody who really believes in defending her client and protecting the process that everybody in this country is entitled to. Jane was the defense attorney of the very first court case I ever covered. And at one point, Jane had asked me how old I was. And when I told her, she said, "Gabe, I have pants older than you." It was the fall of 2023 when this preliminary hearing started, but in so many ways that courtroom went back to 1996.
The judge orders that no civilian witnesses can be shown on camera.
I put on the neighbor of who had seen the white male at Debbie's doorstep on that Tuesday.
He basically
knocked on the door, and it wasn't a confrontational kind of encounter, but she let him in.
Nikki Stain matches the description. It makes you wonder whether or not the person that was seen in her apartment was Nikki Stain.
One of the items of evidence that I presented was the list that was located at Debbie's apartment on her kitchen table, which appeared to be a list of potential roommates. And what does it say by number 6?
By number 6, it has the name Nick, and then scratched out, or Rick, and then it says, we'll call Tuesday to 12 o'clock.
We'll call Tuesday, 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
What I believe happened is that Nikki Stain called Debbie on Tuesday, said, I would like to come by and look at the apartment. She said, sure, gave him the address, and he showed up on her doorstep, and she let him in. I put Peter Dorian on the stand.
After years of not speaking publicly about his daughter's case, Peter Dorian has to recount those horrible moments when he finds her in her apartment.
What did you see when you entered Debbie's bedroom?
She was lying on the floor.
Was she moving?
No.
Is there anything else about Debbie that you noticed that morning?
Well, she was lying face up. Her mouth and nose had been taped shut with some gray colored tape, so that prevented her from breathing.
We had 2 of the sexual assault victims from Visalia testify at the preliminary hearing.
When you saw him in the courtroom, did anything register?
The eyes and the voice. The eyes and the voice, you're always going to remember that voice.
What went through your mind when you heard it?
That's him. Holy crap, that's him.
She was able to describe what happened to her in the courtroom in front of Nikki Stain. It was something to watch.
How dare you be able to go on living knowing what you did, that you have destroyed who knows how many people's lives, and you can continue your life like nothing happened. How dare you?
When prosecutors and the defense said that she was free to go, she just sat there and she wept. You could tell that she has never walked away from this, that it has been with her every single day.
And prosecutors have one more piece of evidence up their sleeve.
Hello, this call is from a correction facility.
Recordings of Nikki Stain's phone calls from jail.
Hello?
Hello, Mom.
And Nikki Stain just keeps talking.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
Can you hear me, Nick?
During the preliminary hearing, prosecutors introduced calls that Nikki Stain made to family members while he was being held in the Tulare County Jail. And on those calls, he doesn't hold back.
Yeah, I can hear you. You know what? Those hurting people and things like that was in my past. I know I need to get punished for it. I just know that I'll be here the rest of my life.
One could say that the jailhouse phone calls were a sense of admission because there was no denials.
But you're innocent till you're proven guilty in my book. You know what you did, we don't. We're going to say that you're innocent until they prove otherwise, in my opinion. It's the way America works.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. You know, I did some bad things. I'm not trying to kind of like hide them. You know, I mean, I'm ashamed of them, but you know, they're there now, so it's just like, you know, quit running from it and just take it.
Are you innocent of any of those crimes?
No, not really, Mom. I was kind of like involved in all of them.
To us, that's an admission that he committed all of these crimes, including Debbie Dorian.
Those revealing phone calls could be key evidence if the case proceeds to trial.
But the defense insists that Nikki Stain never admitted to killing Debbie Dorian, including in that police interrogation.
I did wrong, okay? And even the things that I did back, you know, here in Visalia, that those things are haunting me forever. But the thing in Fresno there, I didn't know that went down. I didn't know that happened. I didn't feel remorse for that or anything like that or anything because I didn't know that had happened.
During the preliminary hearing, the defense was trying to attack the investigation, specifically with the arrest of Maurice Dixon initially and the DNA testing originally.
So that's a mistake.
I'm not going to say it's a mistake, no.
You refuse to say that we're arresting the wrong man on faulty lab work is a mistake? Did you get the right
He
guy?
was eventually cleared.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was the wrong guy.
But prosecutors maintain that the DNA evidence in this case tells the whole story.
There was no other foreign DNA on Debbie's body. The only DNA located was Debbie Dorian's DNA and Nikki Dwayne Stain's DNA.
When the preliminary hearing wraps up, the judge decides there is enough evidence for the case to proceed to trial.
The defendant is held to answer on all counts and charges.
Prosecutors announced they're going to seek the death penalty. But ultimately, Nikki Stain is ready to make a deal.
Nikki Stain's case was heading toward a jury trial early next year, but now a possible deal with prosecutors.
Just 5 weeks after the judge had set a trial date, we got word that Nikki Stain would be entering a change of plea.
Stain's defense team had asked prosecutors if they would allow him to plead guilty to just the murder charge and dismiss the sexual assault charges.
I contacted the parents. Peter was on board because Nikki Stain would receive life without the possibility of parole, and he did not want to have to testify at jury trial. Sarah Loven had a different opinion, and she wanted him to admit and plead guilty to everything that he did.
And she wasn't the only one who felt that way.
Why did you feel so strongly that you wanted those sexual assaults?
Because those victims deserved to have him say, I did this, and I'm going to get sentenced for it.
I'm going to be punished.
That's right. And I am going to serve not just time for Debbie Dorian's murder, but for the crimes I committed against you.
Ultimately, Nikki Stain was willing to do that. He didn't want to go forward to trial.
The district attorney's office also agrees to forego the death penalty.
He would serve life without the possibility of parole.
People unlawfully and with malice aforethought committed murder against Deborah, Sarah, and Dorian. Mr. Stain, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Why plead guilty?
To save his life. To save his life. I believe if we had gone to trial, it would easily have been a death penalty verdict. I just knew that because we're emotion driven, it's almost impossible to be unbiased. We all have our biases. She was an attractive young woman. She was doing positive things in her life, going to school. Her life was just beginning. She had, parents that loved and adored her. And I just was fairly certain that he would end up with a death sentence.
The courtroom was full for Nikki Dwayne Stain's sentencing.
Court Department 62 is now in session. The Honorable Judge Farrell presiding.
Jane Doe number 1 steps up to the podium and delivers her impact statement with cameras carefully trained on her hands.
My life changed forever that day. I tried moving on. I have tried to forget, to meet every man with him. I was always scared. I wish I was dead. I wish he did kill me. It would have been a lot better than having these thoughts in my head and flashbacks. The night playing over and over again in my head.
Your statement was incredibly powerful.
Hopefully it got through to him that I wish he would suffer just as much as all of us did. I hope that he knows that I got him. That's it.
Thank you, Jane Doe 1.
And you also said you wanted to speak on behalf of other survivors.
Yes.
And give voice to them.
If anything comes of this, I would just hope that people come forward and people will get the help that they need. Because it took me a long time.
But the final words spoken in that courtroom would stun everyone.
It was a raw moment.
I screamed and screamed. Everything went dark. I knew my life was over. I wanted people to know that Deb was a real person. She was a beautiful baby, a darling little girl. She went through all the things that children go through. These are her ballet slippers when she was 5. These are her riding gloves. I just want people to know she had these little hands. They felt things, and they were sweet. We have waited and searched for this murderer for 28 years and 10 months, 29 Christmases, and almost 29 birthdays.
Sarah Lovin was the last to deliver an impact statement.
She shared what she thought Debbie would have wanted to say, speaking in her daughter's voice.
Adrenaline flooded my body. I screamed and screamed, but he didn't stop. He wrapped my head in duct tape, covering my mouth. I couldn't breathe. Everything went dark. I would never take a hike with John, the love of my life. Spend time with my mom. I wouldn't have a wedding. I wouldn't be a beautiful bride. My dad wouldn't walk me down the aisle. I knew my death would break my mom's heart and change my dad forever. The pain that they suffer is deeper than anyone can know. Though he took my precious Deb, he did not take my soul. I am wiser and stronger than ever from having to go through this ordeal. He has the rest of his life to pay for what he did, and he will pay for his evil actions.
It was a powerful statement. It was a powerful and emotional moment for everyone in the courtroom.
At this point, sir, you are remanded into the custody of Frederick County Sheriff to begin serving your time.
He no longer has the power. Whatever he wants for power, it's behind bars. To my dear Vince, you know how much this case has meant to us. You know how many years it has taken, and you've carried us all through this, and I love you.
You're about to harvest pomegranates. What's that moment like? How fulfilling it must be.
It's exciting to see all the hard work come to fruition. You saw a dry, leafless bush get leaves, and now they're big, red, and beautiful. It's like a cold case again. We put all that work into it, and we'll see if there's a rainbow at the end of it.
Finally having him behind bars must have been a real capstone to your career.
There were many capstones, but this is the one at the top.
She was a precious person, sweet and loving and smart, and a wonderful young lady.
A mother's never-ending love. Debbie's mother, Sarah, did get to meet and hug that brave survivor, Beth, in court.
As for Nicky Stain, David, his plea agreement included a provision that he forfeits his right to appeal his conviction. That's our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
The new evidence that came out, nobody can ignore it.
There is a lot on the line today.
He wants justice for his daughter. I want justice for my son.
Police don't know even if the crime happened here.
We would not be here working on his case if we didn't truly believe that the state got it wrong.
The courtroom was packed, definitely tense.
Just hours ago, breaking new developments in the Jessica Curry case.
Today was a huge step.
They're also fighting for us as well.
I beg you.
I'm so sorry.
Stories about what happened to Jessica don't quite match up.
I believe that the people that were involved, we brought them to justice. We stand by the investigations that we did.
I just don't know why it's taken so long.
It's just been a long, long
25 years.
This case is not going to be forgotten about. I've got enough right now to take all of you down. But I come to you for the truth.
Hopefully, someone will come forward and tell what they know, and the truth will come out.
Jean Curran hung her head in disbelief.
Why did they get you?
You tell me. Didn't know her, never met her, never seen her.
Because I did not know her or anything, man.
I kept telling them, I don't know anything. Leave me alone.
I didn't do it. Well, you
She kept straight ahead down that road and down that hill.
And that's the last time?
That's the last time I saw Jessica.
These roads are so dark. Anyone in a car could have pulled up and scooped her.
Why should we believe you now after all the lies you told?
A large tornado looks like it is going to have almost a direct hit here on Mayfield.
This is a confirmed tornado on the ground.
The small Kentucky town of Mayfield, population of about 10,000, reduced to rubble.
Just sounded like a freight train. It is scary.
You can see this trailer just completely flipped over.
Their downtown devastated. The courthouse, the clock tower ripped off.
Much like that tornado, which left so many victims, this story has had a long-lasting impact on Mayfield, Kentucky. It involves an unspeakable crime, a father who was a firefighter, and nearly a dozen suspects. The investigation ripped through this tight-knit community, fueling rumors and leaving so many unanswered questions about what exactly happened to 18-year-old Jessica Curran.
This is our fire truck here. This is a picture of the crew. This is all the captains.
You were a captain at this fire station?
Yes.
For how long?
Captain. Well, I made captain 3 years before I retired.
Did you always want to be a firefighter?
No, I really never dreamed of being a firefighter.
No.
No, I didn't.
How did it turn out this way?
Well, I was just needing a job at a time where it was hard to find one. And I ended up being a firefighter, which is something I really love because I like helping people. I used to walk from school just down the street here, and I used to cut across here, where the fire department is.
Little did you know.
Little did I know someday I would be in there. My name is Joe Curran, and Jessica Curran was my daughter. I have 4 kids. Jessica is the second one.
Joe, how would you describe your daughter, Jessica?
She was outgoing, and she was very thoughtful, friendly, passionate. She was really a person that you would want for a friend.
My name is Venetia Stubblefield. Jessica was my cousin. She was a sweet girl. She really was. She is an awesome friend. She was somebody you could sit down, laugh, talk to about any and everything because she kept to herself. She was a beautiful girl.
Jessica Curran.
Yes.
How did you get to know her?
She was friends with a few of my cousins. Her family owned like a fishing pond. We used to go fishing there. And she was a very nice person. She was very, very helpful. She was very friendly.
She had a baby.
That's Zion.
This is Zion.
Yes, that's Zion. Jessica was 18 when she had the baby. She was a good mother. She'd check on him, she'd keep him, she'd hold him, she'd play with him, and she didn't really like to leave him much.
Being that was her first child, she adored that baby. She really did.
After she got pregnant, she decided she wanted to move out all at once. And me and her brother helped her move in to the Plaza Apartments. And all I wanted was her to go back to school, and she had did that. She was finishing up her GED.
I was a GED instructor, and Jessica was one of my students. She was a fun-loving child.
And then on July 29th, 2000, she vanishes.
Yes. I got off work that night. My wife had already talked, and she had told me to go by and pick up Zion. And when I went by Jessica's apartment, she was talking with her friends, and they told me that they most likely would go over to Venetia and her friend's house and play some cards. She got me the baby, and I put him in the car and brought him on home.
We were just sitting there playing spades and listening to music, and that's it, and having a couple of drinks, because it was just like a basically ladies' night.
So take me back to July 29th. Was Jessica in a good mood that night?
Yes,
Happy?
she was. Yeah, she was actually happy. She was happy that she got to get out for a little bit and enjoy the weather, enjoy sunlight, and get some air and take a break, because she had been at home with her kid. Always had her little earrings in her ears, little rings on her finger, necklaces and bracelets.
What time did she decide to head out to leave the get
Probably
together?
about 1:30ish, almost 2. I tried to get her a ride home, even offered to help walk her home. And she was like, no, I'm fine, I got it. Trust me. She was like, trust me, because I got it.
It would be 3 or 4 miles. It was on the opposite side of town. That's where the Plaza Apartments were. At least 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, I would say.
We stood right here and watched her walk until we didn't see her walking no more, and she kept straight ahead down that road and down that hill.
Jessica decides to head out on foot. According to Venetia, Jessica says goodbye to her friends right around here and then heads off into the darkness.
It's really crazy to me that she decided to make this walk. It's a really scary walk.
And that's when we became very nervous.
You knew something was wrong.
And that was it, and that's the last time I saw her.
Truth is a whole lie. And if there's a place that breathes life into that proverb, it's the town of Mayfield in Graves County, Kentucky.
You had to come to this town. Why did you have to physically be here in Mayfield?
Anytime you come to a location, it helps you understand the scene better.
Well-known podcaster Maggie Freeling dug into the Jessica Curran case. What did you wind up getting?
Well, what I think we got was the lengths we go to get justice.
Her reporting culminated in the new installment of the Bone Valley Podcast, Season 3, Graves County.
This is Graves County, Chapter 1. My name is Maggie Freeling. I'm a Pulitzer-winning journalist and producer who has spent years reporting on the criminal legal system. That's how I first heard about this case.
Coming to a place like this is so important to gather information, especially in a small town where everyone's talking.
Mayfield, Kentucky.
Yes.
What is that place like?
It's a very small town. It's pretty much like everybody knows everybody.
I'm Tina Schlosser, and I taught at Mayfield Middle School. Mayfield is a nice place to live. I raised 3 boys there. The people all seem to be friendly.
Mayfield to me was like, although it's small and country-ish, it still reminded me of like a little city.
I was born and raised in Mayfield. One thing that my family was kind of big on, be careful who you party with and hang with, because you never know what they'll do to you.
There wasn't a lot of crime or anything like that. We knew that there were some kind of call themselves gangsters, little guys that, tried to sell drugs and stuff like that, and they got in trouble.
Mayfield, Kentucky is in the area where the KKK is based out of in Kentucky. And so there is a bit of segregation, I guess, that took place in that city.
Did you face discrimination growing up?
I would have to tell you the truth, yes. I had some of the teachers said that they didn't really want me in their class. That's just how it was back in those days.
Sunday, July 30th, it's the morning after Jessica had gone to that card game with her friends, and her parents stopped by her apartment.
We went by to pick her up to go to church that Sunday morning. We knocked on the door, we didn't get any answer, so we went to church. And then after we got out of church, we kind of went back to her house and started asking some of the people around the neighborhood if they had seen her. And of course, none of them said that they had seen her.
You knew something was wrong.
My wife had already said it because she hadn't called, but she normally called and checked on Zion. And I told her she's a young lady, 18. She just moved out like a week before.
That's where she had an apartment, huh?
Yeah.
What happens when her parents come here that day?
Jessica's not here. They instantly were worried. Not normal for her.
She would never leave her son.
She would never leave her son. She was in love with her son, Zion.
Jessica had just moved to her apartment and had plans to go to college, so things were looking up for her. But the streets had been talking about her new baby boy. What was the talk around town about her baby?
That it belonged to a guy by the name of Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams is the father of Jessica Curran's son.
I knew Jeremy. We weren't friends, but we knew each other. So he'd be off a vibe, you know, and his vibe just never was a good vibe to me, so I never hung around him.
He was always nice. He was a sweet person, you know what I'm saying? But it's like certain people that he hung with, it's what gave him a bad name and a bad reputation.
There was no relationship between Jessica and Jeremy Adams, just kind of a one-time kind of thing, and he didn't want to see her anymore. She didn't want to see him anymore. She had another boyfriend, and that was Lolo Saxton, and he seems to be a pretty good guy and, you know, pretty thoughtful.
Sheena and Joe pulled up at my mom's house asking about Jessica.
We didn't really know what to do, so we decided we'd check around and see what we could find out.
Jessica's family searches for 2 days, and then there's news of a startling discovery behind the middle school.
On August the 1st, 2000, school hadn't officially started. We had planted some plants out back, and I wanted to check on them. And so I was walking out back, and when I opened the door, I saw this shoe laying on the ground, and it was a sandal, and it looked like somebody had just walked out of it or ran out of it. And I looked to my left, and there was a body laying there. And I was, you know, it was just floored me to no end. The body had been burned. I mean, it was a horrible sight to see.
And then you hear that a body has been found.
Yes, a body was found. And then that's when we became very nervous. We went on straight to the police department. They hadn't completely or exactly identified her yet. And then they showed some of the jewelry that she had on, and most of it was my wife. It was a total shock. I mean, we never dreamed that it would be her.
It was like in shock, like, are you serious? And it was like, wow, we just dropped our cups and just fell to the ground and just cried.
I can only imagine what it must be like to process your daughter being gone.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's hard. It's especially hard on my wife. It's something that stays deep in your soul.
Jessica Curran gets murdered. How did you find out?
It was the talk of the town.
A teacher found a burned body behind Mayfield Middle School. They say it looks like a homicide.
It's scary that somebody could dump a body almost in your front door.
Somebody get killed and burned up, definitely a big deal.
I was shocked, I was angry, and it hurt.
All agencies are working basically around the clock.
My thought was, who could have killed her?
Police start hearing about rumors ripping through Mayfield.
So far, police say there are no motives and no suspects.
It was like the Crucible. I mean, everyone was out for everyone.
Pulling up to...
This looks like the police station.
Wow. This is the police station?
This is the police station.
Like a small little house.
Podcaster Maggie Freeling and I drove through Mayfield, Kentucky, following the alleged path of the crime.
Her apartment was right back here. You see it?
Oh, yeah.
The last building right there.
On the left? And she had just moved in.
She had just moved in. She had barely spent any time there.
Police video documents the day Jessica Curran's body was discovered in that schoolyard. In a place where children play, murder investigators are now at work.
Police don't know how long the body has been here or even if the crime happened here. They do know the body had already started decomposing and there were signs of a struggle.
Jessica's sandals are there, and her ripped underwear, untouched by fire, apparently removed before she was burned. Her dress is above her waist.
The middle school is about a 20-minute walk from where Venetia Stubblefield says she and Jessica said goodbye. It's a long way from her home at Mayfield Plaza Apartments.
It's the middle school. And we were going right
over there?
So Mayfield Middle School, huh?
This is the Mayfield Middle School. And back in 2000, none of this was here. So it was just this building. So right back here, and we're gonna walk up to this gate, there was a little garden area. And she was found right between there.
Did police initially believe she was killed here?
Initially, this is what they believed was the crime scene. It seems like someone was trying to run. Her sandal was found a little farther away from her body.
It's been approximately 2 years since we've had our last homicide here in Mayfield.
The Kentucky State Police and the state medical examiner are all called in to help work the case. A Mayfield patrolman, already tapped to make detective, is promoted on the spot.
The day that they found her body was the day I was made a detective.
Rookie detective Tim Fortner is appointed lead investigator, and with the help of more experienced detectives, he will run the case.
Because I was still in the uniform, they said go home and put your, get you some khakis and a white shirt. And so they sent me home to do that.
He came to the house and told me and my wife that he had absolutely no experience and he didn't know what he was doing. And he don't know why they put him on the case, but he was on the case and he was trying to do it.
On the day that he assigned you to the Jessica Curran murder investigation, did you feel like you were qualified to handle that investigation?
Absolutely not.
There was some physical evidence. There was a belt that came into play later in the case that was found.
The braided belt also, that was kind of burnt a little bit, so.
It was kind of really, really crazy for us to find out that she had been beaten, strangled, and then set on fire. That shows a lot of extreme hate.
The autopsy report notes Jessica suffered blunt head trauma, and based on the braided belt found next to her body, strangulation.
There was an issue about, in particular, a dress that Jessica had on at the time of her body being found.
One of the garments that she was wearing was just basically thrown away.
And I remember holding it up at the time of the autopsy, asking somebody, I'm not sure who was present at the autopsy, do you want this article of clothing? And the answer was no.
Mayfield police acknowledged that Jessica's dress was not preserved.
It was just, it doesn't make sense. It was just really not good.
2 days earlier, soon after authorities believed Jessica Curran was killed, a deputy sheriff encountered a man named Quincy Cross just outside Mayfield.
And asked him, what the problem was. He stated he'd run out of gas.
The deputy noted that Quincy kept pulling up his pants because he didn't have a belt on.
He had a pair of dark pants on with no belt.
It was a belt that was found near Jessica's body. That belt is used to kill Jessica.
He was holding a gas can, attempting to try to, said he spilled some gas on his pants. They could see a little residue on the car.
The accelerant that was used to burn Jessica's body was gasoline also.
The deputy gives Quincy a ride to a nearby home on Chris Drive, where Quincy had been partying earlier.
He ultimately was found in possession of cocaine. He was arrested.
Quincy Cross is in the county jail on drug charges when Jessica's burned body is discovered.
Collect call from Quincy Cross.
All these years later, I spoke to Quincy on the phone. Do you remember being questioned about Jessica's murder in 2000?
Yeah, but it didn't really bother me, you know what I'm saying? To hear somebody asking me questions, I kept telling them I don't know nothing about nothing. I don't know nothing about none of that.
Quincy Cross says he's no killer, with little evidence to prove him wrong. Detectives turn to Jessica's cousin, Venetia, and a startling allegation. Is the person who says she last saw Jessica walking off alone, keeping secrets about her death.
I was like, Mom, the police is here. She's like, what? I was like, the police is here.
The investigation into the murder of Jessica Curran, who was found dead behind the Mayfield, Kentucky Middle School, graduates to high school when administrators alert police that 2 students may have information.
When the situation happened with Jessica, Victoria went back and lied on me to the school's resource police officer.
17-year-old Venetia Stubblefield and 15-year-old Victoria Caldwell, 2 schoolmates who will be at the center of this case for the next 25 years. So how would you describe what you've been through?
I would describe it as being very traumatic and not easygoing at all, and very hard.
What was going on?
There was a lot of sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental. It was just a lot.
That traumatized teenager is then caught up in a murder case. When they discovered Jessica's body, you were interviewed by investigators.
Yes.
12:47 p.m. Thursday, the 7th day of September. I'm at the Mayfield High School in the conference room outside the principal's office. Present is myself, Detective Tim Fortner, and also Victoria Caldwell.
Detectives pull Victoria out of class for an interview.
Somebody had given me some information that possibly that you might have ever heard a conversation between somebody about the murder or homicide, whatever you want to call it, of Jessica Curran.
She tells them that before the murder, she overheard Jeremy Adams, the father of Jessica's baby, talking to Jessica's boyfriend, Carlos Saxton, nicknamed Lolo.
Okay, what were they saying? Do you remember? All I know is that first Jeremy said, payback's the B word. Payback's a bitch? Yeah. Okay. And he said, we're gonna get her good.
But what Victoria says next is more astonishing. She says Venetia, the cousin who had said Jessica walked off alone that night, was now saying Jessica was taken for a ride by Jeremy Adams.
She went and told them that I approached her and told her that I know something about a girl's body being behind the school and about a girl being killed.
No, she was walking that way, and Venetia and Jeremy and some other people that were in the car, I think it was like 2 more people that was in the car. I guess they put her in the car or something, and I guess Jessica was trying to fight with them. And Venetia told them to stop the car and let me out because I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's all she said.
That's when we get a knock at the door, and Mom's like, see what it is at the door? I was like, Mom, the police is here. She's like, what? I was like, the police is here.
Venetia tells detectives Victoria is lying. Victoria tells police that you said you were in a white car with Jeremy Adams that night. Is that true?
No, sir, it was not.
Why would
Jeremy,
she lie?
Because that's the typical person that she was, and that's the type of person the type of stuff that she did to her friends.
6 months after the murder, a grand jury indicts Jeremy Adams and Carlos Saxton. Adams is charged with murder, Saxton with complicity to commit murder. Both pled not guilty, denying any involvement in Jessica's death.
Saxton and Adams, do you think the police did a good job of investigating them?
I don't know. I was hoping that they did.
The case relied largely on 2 inmates who police say told them Adams had confessed and implicated Saxton. A trial is set for Adams, with Saxton's trial to follow. But between crime and punishment, it all falls apart.
The murder trial of Jeremy Adams was supposed to start this week, but Judge John Daudet dropped the charges.
The police and prosecutors do not hand over at least 18 tapes of interviews to the defense. So the case winds up being dismissed. The charges against Jeremy and Lolo are dropped.
The case is in shambles. So is the police department. The chief and assistant chief have left the force for unrelated reasons. Mayfield hands over the case to the Kentucky State Police.
This case is not going to be forgotten about by the family and friends of Jessica Curran, and I can assure you this case is not going to be forgotten about by the Kentucky State Police.
Victoria moves to California.
Detective Sam Stick with Kentucky State Police.
Venetia is questioned repeatedly by state police detectives.
We are here today to offer you full immunity. Okay, you can tell me today that you killed her, okay, and you're immune. I'm not here to charge you with anything. I will not charge you with anything, okay?
Every time she insists she had nothing to do with the death of Jessica Curran.
The night that she was murdered, that night after she left us, that was it. I didn't see her no more. So whatever statements y'all got saying that I did, well, you're wrong. Because I did not see her no more that night. I had stuck with my story from the beginning when they first questioned me. I never skipped a beat. I never switched it up. I've never changed anything out of my story.
But you're telling us right now that you were not there.
If y'all give me a Bible right now, I put my right hand on the God on that Bible and let y'all know that I was not there. Bring me the Bible, booty. My right hand on this Bible, I was never in that car, and I never was around. There you go.
Jessica may not be here today in body, but she is definitely here in spirit.
Now an unofficial investigator emerges, a cape-wearing crusader.
Susan Galbraith is one of those people who's kind of pushy and kind of just really knows everyone from around town. Again, it's a small town. She knows people. She knows law enforcement.
The day Jessica's body was found, Susan Galbraith, who's not a police officer, was right there at the crime scene.
That's when Susan says her curiosity turned into an obsession. If the cops weren't going to crack the case, she would.
I am 99% sure that I know exactly what happened the night that Jessie died, okay? I know who killed her.
The self-appointed detective interrogates Venetia.
People that I've talked to are saying that you were at the scene. To be honest with you, though, I had no part in none of this. I did not.
Still ahead, the citizen detective claims there's a witness willing to come forward, but in fear for their life.
She messages saying she has information, but she's scared to talk, and she doesn't know who she should talk to.
She was afraid that she was going to be hurt, injured, or killed.
The Mayfield Police Department had the case for 3 years and didn't solve it. And the state police had the case for about 3 years.
It's now 6 years after Jessica Curran's murder, and Victoria Caldwell resurfaces.
The first lead the Mayfield police received was from Victoria.
Victoria indicated to the police that they should look at Jeremy Adams, the father of Jessica Curran's son, and also Carlos Saxton, who is her boyfriend at the time.
Remember, charges were dropped against both men. Now living in California, Victoria reaches out to the state police and says her sister Rosie has passed on an alleged threat to Victoria's life.
He just started yelling, like, I told you they were going to kill you.
She was yelling at you that she told you they were going to kill you?
Yeah.
That who was going to kill you?
Quincy.
Quincy Cross, the man who was arrested reeking of gasoline just hours after Jessica vanished. Police then speak to Rosie about that alleged death threat.
Quincy directly said to you what?
That he wanted to kill my sister.
Okay. And did he tell you why?
Due to that case, because she was running her mouth.
Has Quincy or anybody else directly told you that they were involved in the murder of Jessica Curran?
Just Quincy. Quincy had told me he was involved in the murder. I have been there when they're discussing the murder and stuff like that, him and Tamara.
My name is Tamara Caldwell. Rosie and Victoria were my first cousins. We never talked to each other, really. I just didn't hang out with them.
Has Tamara ever told you that Quincy was involved in this murder?
Quincy never asked me or talked to me about anything about dealing with Jessica Curran's murder. He never did.
Tamara Caldwell, your relationship with her?
That's my cousin. We really never really got along, just because our moms really butted heads a lot.
Tamara had dated Quincy back in the day.
Yeah, I thought Quincy was cute. We got along great. My kids loved him. They still love him.
How odd would it be for you to call Tamara? Can you get her to talking about Quincy?
Yeah, I could probably get her talking about Quincy.
That same day, at the request of the state police, Rosie calls her cousin Tamara on the phone.
Because you know the cops are hot on Quincy.
Okay.
Did you know he was involved in that murder?
Yep.
Okay, because I didn't know. Somebody said that they was going to try to kill Victoria, so. I don't know.
Tamara doesn't acknowledge any threat against Victoria, and today she says she doesn't even remember the call.
I do not recall that conversation that Rosie had with me. No, I don't.
The state police continue following leads and interviewing people. Then, 3 months later, they speak to Quincy Cross.
Who do you think killed us?
I don't know. I didn't know her.
Detectives hone in on that morning after Jessica disappeared, when Quincy says he left that party on Chris Drive, ran out of gasoline, spilled some on himself, and encountered a deputy on the road.
He smelled gas on me. You know what I'm saying? He gonna put that on the paper, a strong odor of gasoline. Like I done.
What's gasoline got going in your cold got anything to do with anything?
Oh no, she was burnt up for one. They might have led them to believe I had something to do with that.
Detectives also tell Quincy they believe his belt was used to kill Jessica Curran.
And I can tell you your belt's around her neck.
Oh well, I ain't do with it.
Your belt, her neck. It's there, dude.
Man, I don't believe it's mine.
I'm telling you.
You come up and saying, yeah, it's your okay. If it's mine, convict me.
After the interview, Quincy is free to leave. The state police continue investigating, and so does Susan Galbraith.
The gas, the belt, and his demeanor the night Jessica went missing. These three things made citizen investigator Susan Galbraith hone in on Quincy. She just needed to figure out how, why, and with whom.
Quincy came from out of town to this party at Chris Drive. So when Susan Galbraith starts her own citizen investigation, she finds that at this party at Chris Drive, there were two white boys, one of which turns out to be Jeff Burton.
They were saying that I was seen at a party. A lot of times people have like little house parties and stuff, and I'm a teenager, so I'm liable to pop in and pop out, you know, who knows.
So Susan decides she's gonna make a MySpace. MySpace is the before Facebook.
It was a social media platform that people used to communicate and meet each other on. If anybody had any information, she was trying to collect it to turn that over to the police.
The police had not spoken with Jeffrey Burton when Susan Galbraith posed his name, among others, in what she labeled as a person of interest list on that MySpace page. She would describe that list later in court.
I didn't say they did it. It was just, I just had person of interest, but it didn't say they did anything. I could have been interested in what kind of shoes they wear.
A friend of mine had called me and he's like, you might want to get on MySpace. They're talking about your name in connection with the murder of Jessica Curran. And I'm like, what in the world? You know, this makes no sense. So I'm kind of freaking out, and I call my mom and call my uncle.
When Susan Galbraith lists on MySpace that your nephew, Jeffrey Burton, is a key person of interest, what goes through your mind?
I couldn't believe it.
This don't make sense at all. These aren't people that I hung around, nothing like that at all.
A new story about what happened to Jessica emerges.
He hit her with the bat in her head. She was unconscious.
Involving a surprising number of new suspects.
They try to make it like I was the one that struck the match and I threw it on her.
I kept telling them, I don't know anything.
This was the beginning of the end for me.
Were you, in fact, involved in that killing? So where are we here?
So this is Jeff Burton's house.
This is a house where they took Jessica to. She was allegedly killed.
A friend of mine had called me. They're talking about your name in connection with the murder of Jessica Curran. And I'm like, what in the world? You know, this makes no sense.
I did not know her or anything, man. I mean, you might have got some people to write some statements against me saying whatever. I don't understand, man.
Jeffrey, what does it feel like to be back here?
Honestly, it kind of makes my nerves a little shaky.
You want to go charged with murder? Well, now you tell me which way you want to go with it.
I didn't do nothing.
Well, you tell us.
I didn't do nothing.
We know what happened.
No, you think you know what happened.
He's an innocent man and spent all this time in prison.
There's nothing physical that puts him there. There's no DNA.
And you told the jury that Jessica was strangled with a belt.
Yes.
Victoria's story has now changed.
How much of what you testified under oath was true?
None of it was true.
Zero.
The tornado ripped through this town and destroyed Mayfield. What it did to people was so similar to the tornado of Jessica's death that came into this town.
Police don't know how long the body has been here or even if the crime happened here.
I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything. Very spooky.
So she walks off into the darkness, and that's the last you hear of her.
Yes, she kept straight ahead down that road and down that hill.
So many people were embroiled in this.
They had dropped the case on the two main guys. We got a case here that's went for years and nobody had done anything. And we wanted to see, you know, something done.
With seemingly little movement in the case, the Curran family organizes marches, and the story makes headlines.
But Reverend Sharpton's National Action Network plans to make Jessica Curran's murder a national concern.
Around that same time, Susan Galbraith had started working with the state police.
We know exactly who killed Jessica Curran. There's a lot of people that are feeling comfortable right now because they think they've got away with it, but they haven't.
What do you think of Susan Galbraith? Just down this street is Mayfield Middle School, where Jessica's body was found 3 days after she was last seen. And just up this street, Susan Galbraith, that citizen sleuth, found a house she strongly believed was connected to Jessica's murder. It was the home of Jeff Burton.
In the year 2000, I was 20 years old. I just had a little daughter that February. A lot of the time I spent smoking, drinking, just being young, probably kind of wild a little bit.
So where are we here?
So this is Jeff Burton's house. This is where it used to be, and it has since been demolished.
Why did Susan Galbraith want to come here
Susan kind of homed in on Jeff. She saw that there were 2 white boys at this party, and that's how she got Jeff's name. And from there, she realized his house, how close it is to the middle school.
In fact, she wrote about it in an email.
She did. As I walked around the house, I saw a garage. It was so eerie, felt as though time stood still. I crept over to the door and was overwhelmed with a feeling of dread. I didn't go in for fear of tainting the scene. I was so excited, I knew I had finally found where they had Jessica.
Susan would share her impressions of the visit with investigators from a third agency that's now leading the investigation.
I had gotten in touch with the Attorney General, and he said, I'm going to put somebody on that case. And then he sent down the KBI.
The Kentucky Bureau of Investigations was the law enforcement arm of the Kentucky Attorney General's office. The 2 investigators were Lee Wise and Robert O'Neill.
At the AG, my main function was in the drug unit. I was brought into the case mainly because of my ability to do investigations. And part of it was that the director, David James, felt like that Afro-American black person would probably have better inroads into getting people to come forth and talk.
These agents had not worked homicide cases, and these 2 agents are now working this homicide.
The one person that was instrumental in ultimately helping out on the case, Susan Galbraith, who was just a lady that was in the community that kind of took the weight of this case, and she really wanted to see something done on it. She was on the internet, and ultimately she got in contact with Victoria.
Susan was convinced Victoria was the key to cracking the case.
What were your interactions like with Susan Galbraith?
She would text me on MySpace and try to communicate with me.
Asking things like what?
About Jessica Curran, or if I really knew anything.
Victoria read one of her messages to Susan in a BBC radio program reporting on the case.
I am afraid for my life. I'm sorry about what happened. I will help the police as much as I can, but I really don't know who to trust.
You ultimately decide to talk to the KBI,
yes,
to come forward with them.
I told them a different story.
This interview is being conducted at the Radisson Inn, Santa Maria, California.
Victoria turned out to be Susan's missing puzzle piece. She would not only point the finger at Quincy, but at many others, including her own family.
Quincy and Tamara and this white guy had pulled up to my house.
You said you remembered his first name.
Yeah,
What was that?
Jeffrey. And my cousin had asked me if I wanted to take a ride with them. And I was like, yeah. We got right back to the same area of the middle school area. They picked up Anisha.
And then, Victoria says, they go pick up Jessica.
Jessica gets into the car. She got up front, in the middle, and...
In the middle of who?
In the middle of Quincy and Tamara. As we were driving, I remember Quincy was rubbing on one side of her leg, and Tamara was rubbing on the other side, and she kept pushing their hands away. So I remember Quincy got mad. When we got to the white guy's house, they had pulled Jessica to get out the car with them, kind of like forcing her. And they go inside, and then they go into this bedroom. And I heard yelling and screaming, so I was wondering what the hell was going on. And so I opened the door, and that's when I had seen Tamara holding Jessica down and Quincy over her with the belt around her neck. I touched her neck, and I told him that she was dead. I think Quincy lifted the head, and the white guy lifted the feet, and I believe Tamara put the blanket up under her to wrap her body in it. And after they wrapped her, they took her out of the house, put her in the back of the car. And we all got into the car, and Quincy stops to get gas. He got a cup, and he put the gas in the cup. And he gets back in the car, and that's when we ended up back at the middle school. I remember they had laid the body down. Quincy threw the gas
on her Anisha through the match.
And what happens after that?
The dominoes start falling.
Y'all killed her, right?
You want to go charge with murder?
Do nothing. Do nothing.
No, that's lies, man. That's man.
Today's date is February the 25th. We're in the city of Mayfield, Kentucky. Present in the vehicle is Victoria Caldwell.
A few days after, Victoria tells the KBI how she says Jessica was murdered. Agents take her back to Mayfield, to the alleged crime scene.
This is a house where they took Jessica to. She was allegedly killed.
But all that's left there is a concrete slab, and no evidence is found.
This would be where Jeff Burton resided.
The crime scene went from the middle school. This is now the crime scene.
The day after that ride-along, Victoria is taken to the Attorney General's office where she provides a videotaped statement.
We're conducting a videotaped interview of Victoria Caldwell.
We stopped at the white guy's house.
Had you ever been to that house before?
Yes.
What were you doing over at his house?
My sister used to mess with me.
Which one?
Rosie.
Victoria says she knew Jeffrey's house because she says her sister Rosie was seeing Jeffrey at one point.
Then, Victoria gives authorities a different version of what she says happens in the car and how Jessica is taken inside the house.
Quincy. She hit her with a bat in her head.
A bat? What kind of bat?
Like a little bat.
Where did he hit her?
Back here.
What'd she do?
She went unconscious.
Huh?
She went unconscious. Together.
Lear tells the KBI what he'd earlier told the state police, that he simply did not know Jessica.
I never knew who the girl was, never seen her before in my life. I mean, they showed me a picture, I didn't have a clue who Jessica Kern was.
Lear also adds he didn't know Cross and actually considered him the #1 suspect.
We looked at Ronnie Lear, but as far as him being active in the murder, we had no information as related to that.
We took all the evidence we had, put it all together, and we sat down with the Special Prosecutions Unit at the Attorney General's office. That's how it all came together, as we were ready to go forward with the indictments. So we started bringing people in and talking to them.
Just 30 minutes north of Mayfield is the Drury Inn and Suites in Paducah, Kentucky. This low-key hotel's conference room becomes ground zero for intense questioning by the KBI, the Kentucky Bureau of Investigation. Jeffrey, what does it feel like to be back here?
Honestly, it kind of makes my nerves a little shaky again. Of course, it brings back one of the worst days of my life.
It affects you even now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Why?
Well, just because, I mean, this was the beginning of the end for me, so to speak.
Today is Friday, March 23rd. We're here conducting an interview with Jeffrey Burton.
Jeffrey's house was the location where they brought Jessica Kern's body. That's where bad things happened to her.
Same people are going to stand across from you and point at you and say, "It's his house." You can look as confused.
It's more concern.
That's not concern. That's fear.
If that's the case, you might as well take me to jail now, because I did not know her or anything, man. I mean, you might have got some people to write some statements against me saying whatever. I don't understand, man.
I'm freaking out, you know what I mean? I'm really on the inside, freaking out.
I know I didn't rape anybody and nobody was murdered around me anytime. Let me tell you something, Jeff. Anytime.
Remember, Victoria says she knew Jeffrey's house because she'd been there with her sister Rosie.
Jeffrey tried to deny it that he knew Rosie or that he knew Victoria.
Step right up here, Rosie. You ever seen this gentleman before?
She was already there, so we thought we'd just bring her in.
Didn't go to school together?
We never had sex. What he's saying, and I never called
And
you.
we never went together?
No.
Mm.
Hey. Come on now. That's a lie.
So I didn't even know her. So to have her in front of me, and she's kind of looking at them, and then looking back at me.
When was the last time that you were contacted by Jeff Burton?
2 months ago.
2 months ago. 2 months ago?
Go ahead and take me to jail.
So I'm just like, man, just if you're gonna take me to jail, just take me to jail. You know what I mean? I was just over it.
The truth is gonna come out. What's done in the dark, ultimately, is gonna come to the light.
That's it.
And then you're arrested.
Just stand up. You're under arrest for murder or just
You got to go.
What was it like to be let out of that hotel room in handcuffs?
Just surreal, like I couldn't believe it was happening. It felt like a nightmare. It was like this. There's no way this is real. There's no way, but it was real.
Jeffrey is arrested for multiple charges, including murder, kidnapping, and rape, and is carted off, passing Tamara Caldwell as she enters the room.
It was draining.
You said I didn't do nothing, but
I
you
didn't
lied.
do nothing.
Yes, you did.
And now Quincy Cross is in the hot seat.
You said Jeff Burton, you say you don't know him. How can a person lie on you that you don't know?
Man, look, you figured it out. That's for you. You investigated. You figured it out.
I was down in the cruiser for like hours. The first time I went up to the room, it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning.
The detectives questioned Tamara Caldwell about knowing Jeffrey Burton.
Tamara, did you know the guy just walked out of here? You ever seen him before? Please.
The one that was just in this chair? No, I don't. I promise. I don't know. No, I don't know nothing.
You wasn't with him at night? Jessica was murdered?
No, I was not.
I didn't hang out with Jeffrey Burton. I knew him from school. That's it.
Those interviews were brutal.
It was draining because I kept telling him, I don't know anything. Leave me alone. I don't know anything.
You want to go charged with murder, or you want to just be charged with being there and sexually molesting that girl? Now you tell me which way you want to go with it.
I didn't do nothing.
Well, you tell us.
I didn't do nothing.
Think about it.
I'm thinking about it.
You said I didn't do nothing. But
I
you
didn't
lied.
do nothing.
Yes, you did.
I don't know nothing about this. I don't know nothing about it. I was at home when this happened.
The detectives hammer home that they believe Tamara and Quincy were the ringleaders of this crime.
You murdered Jessica. It's up to you whether you go to jail on the charge that you can get out on, or whether you go on murder. But you going. So we're giving you the opportunity.
You the captain, right along with Quincy.
I don't know nothing about this. All I know is I met him in jail.
How could I have had anything to do with it? And this happened in 2000. I didn't know Quincy Cross until 2002. So how could I have anything to do with it, period? How did I get brought into this, period?
Tamara says she and Quincy parted ways in 2005.
You know, with them being charged together, obviously they want to make as much distance between themselves as they can.
Both Tamara and Quincy are being charged with murder, kidnapping, and rape. At the time, Quincy was 30 years old, born and raised in Tennessee and from a big family. He'd been in trouble before with the law.
Quincy Cross was involved in narcotics and drugs. That's verified. He's known as a drug dealer.
We come from a close-knit family. Quincy is my protective big brother. He was fun, he was definitely outspoken, but he also was nurturing.
He didn't meet many strangers because he was funny. He was a jokester.
We're here to conduct this interview with Quincy Cross, who is currently present with us.
We interviewed him for probably 2 hours.
We know what happened.
No, you think you know what happened.
We know what happened.
Okay. All right.
We might have missed the point. We might have missed the point here and there, but we know what happened.
If you know what's not your point is.
We're giving you a chance to come clean.
Ain't no need to come clean when you already know.
We're giving you a chance to have peace with yourself.
This is what peace is. I don't want to have it. Because I ain't got nothing to do with it.
You said Jeff Burton, you say you don't know. How can a person lie on you that you don't know?
You investigated. You figured.
I have to ask you, did you kill Jessica Curran?
No, I did not kill Jessica Curran, or have anything to do with killing Jessica Curran, or knew anybody that killed Jessica Curran.
Did you rape Jessica Curran?
No, I did not kill Jessica. I did not rape Jessica. I didn't even know Jessica. Let's get that in line. I never knew Jessica.
Were you involved in any way with Jessica's murder?
No, I was not. Anyway, no kind of way.
Were you in the car with Venetia the night Jessica was murdered?
I didn't even know Venetia.
Yet according to the KBI, Venetia is just one of several eyewitnesses who places Quincy at the center of this case.
The story that we got from Victoria and the story that we got from Venetia was consistent in a lot of areas.
Venetia, what was happening?
They was scuffling and shit.
What was stuff?
Quincy and Jessica.
Who took it?
Quincy.
And who?
Tamara.
What's your birthday?
He was walking in the house behind me on Victoria.
Venetia, she was another hard interview because she was very emotional.
I have ADHD.
Venetia and Victoria will testify against the others.
Being locked up behind bars, it took like a big toll on me.
Despite their repeated denials and a lack of forensic evidence, Quincy, Jeffrey, and Tamara head to trial, their lives in the balance, and a wrench thrown into the case. A weapon, prosecutors say, was buried in a backyard.
How do you know that this is the same tool that was used to hit Jessica?
The motive for Jessica Curran's murder is still unclear at this time. The connection between the three people arrested for her murder has not been confirmed either.
They were gonna try me, Quincy, and Tamara together, and then they separated it to where they did Quincy by itself.
Hundreds of potential jurors showed up today. Quincy Omar Cross sat in court with his attorneys. The Curran family prayed before the trial began.
The trial is moved from Graves County to Hickman County because of all of the media attention and how big this case was.
The Jessica Curran murder trial began early this morning here in Clinton, Kentucky, which allowed the prosecution to get right into laying their case against Quincy Omar Cross.
Jessica Curran was sexually assaulted and brutally murdered by the defendant, and I will ask you to find the defendant, Quincy Omar Cross, guilty.
Over the course of the next week, in a trial captured on sometimes grainy VHS tape, the prosecution calls more than 30 witnesses, starting with Jessica's family.
You recognize that as Jessica's shoe? Yes, ma'am. Yes, these are hers.
People who were at the Chris Drive party testify about seeing Quincy wave his belt around and talk about wanting to go find girls.
I remember he swinging at me that night.
Quincy's defense points out that many people wore a similar belt.
A common belt.
Yes, sir.
Common belt back then.
Yes, sir, I suppose.
Other witnesses testify that Quincy Cross told them he was involved in Jessica's death.
And he's like, well, you told on me for killing that girl.
She overheard something that she wasn't supposed to hear, and we had to take care of that. We kind of brushed him off because we thought he's always talking big.
He said, I, which is Quincy Cross, killed Jessica Curran. And he said, if y'all say anything, that I'm gonna do you the same way I did her.
Quincy Cross would just kind of sit there in the courtroom like he wasn't really worried about it. And he wasn't scared or nothing. He's just relaxed.
Jessica's cousin, Venetia, who initially said Jessica had walked home, now testifies that she, Quincy, and others went to Jeffrey's house that night.
Jessica went in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How did she get in the house?
He made her walk in there.
Venetia says that Quincy led Jessica inside and killed her.
Who killed Jessica Kern?
Quincy Cross.
How did he do that?
When I seen him, he was standing over with a belt in his hand around her neck.
But the star witness for the prosecution is Victoria Caldwell, who has been at the center of the case since the beginning.
Doris Victoria Caldwell.
Were you nervous?
Yes, I was very nervous.
Victoria testifies over several days, saying that after they picked up Jessica, Quincy knocked Jessica unconscious in the car in the driveway of Jeffrey Burton's home.
Get out of the car. Quincy and carried Jessica's body to the side, the side door.
You told the jury that Jessica was strangled with a belt.
Yes. She just kept pulling on it. You could hear gasping for air.
It was hard for me to believe that they could have been that cold and callous.
Then, Victoria changes her story, now saying Quincy Cross struck Jessica twice, once with a bat, the second time with a ratchet wrench.
That's the tool that was used. It's a long tool, and in the middle has a little knob that makes a clicking noise.
Law enforcement officers say they find the object buried in Victoria's sister's yard.
How do you know that this is the same tool that was used to hit Jessica?
Because I'm the one who buried it.
Nobody mentioned the clicking ratchet until after it was found. They were always saying metal bat until the ratchet was found. Then all of a sudden, 2 days later, is the first mention of a metal ratchet with clicking sound. Isn't that amazing?
There are glaring inconsistencies in Victoria and Venetia's statements. Like, Venetia cannot confidently say if Quincy, Jeff, or Tamara struck Jessica with any object.
When we look at the totality of this case, we have independent corroboration. Talking to Victoria is consistent with the important areas of what Venetia said.
We're going to mainly look at the credibility of Victoria and Venetia. And there's no way they both can be telling the truth. They both admitted that they lied to the Commonwealth all the way up to the very end.
The defense strategy was to question the credibility of everything, from the circumstantial evidence to the prosecution's witness testimony.
You always told the case.
No.
You told the police that Jessica was murdered because she was going to tell Ronnie Lear's wife that he was sleeping with her, right?
I guess.
That was a lie too, was it not?
Yes.
There is no physical evidence that connects Quincy to Jessica, to that crime scene at the middle school.
When I spoke to Quincy on the phone, I asked him about Jessica's murder.
Why would Victoria and Venetia point the finger at you?
Okay, I never knew Victoria. I never knew Venetia at the time, so I knew it was lying anyway.
The verdict is next, and what happens to those co-defendants?
They're going to do the same thing to me over a lie. How the hell is this happening?
And what those witnesses at the trial told me about their testimony.
You're now saying that what you testified to in court was a lie.
On the day that the verdict came, I remember being outside with some family.
We thought on a capital murder case it would take a while, but it took very little time.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder under instruction number 7.
The jury deliberated only 3 hours and came back with a guilty verdict.
My whole family was devastated.
How is this real? Is this actually happening?
What went through your mind when you heard the word guilty?
Let me say, it was heartbreaking to be that person for one, and for the world to see that of me, and for the people that believe that. Oh man, that took me down to a dark place right there.
I was glad to see somebody, get punishment for it. I told them, I didn't want to have a death penalty. I could do life without the possibility of parole, but I wouldn't do a death penalty.
After Quincy was convicted, everyone else who was going up for trial was terrified.
Well, certainly we were concerned after that guilty verdict.
At first I'm ready, gun-ho ready, and now I'm just like, they're gonna do the same thing to me over a lie. How the hell is this happening?
I was like, they're gonna kill me now. What is going on? They convict him, they definitely gonna convict us.
Jeffrey and Tamara took plea deals for the lesser charge of manslaughter and the abuse of a corpse.
Jeff and Tamara both took what is called an Alford plea, and it's basically saying, I'm telling you I didn't do this, but I'm acknowledging that the state has enough evidence to convict me.
And I didn't know that they look at it as a guilty plea. But I'm scared that's what they done to Quincy over a lie. So I'm like, man, they're gonna do the same thing to me. So I did like 7 years.
I took the Alford plea because my public defender said that I wouldn't get much time. I got 15 years, but I served 5 years, 8 months, and 2 days.
It was awful. I had to quit my job to take care of my daughter's kids. They asked for mama every day.
So when Jeff took that plea, he agreed to be a convicted felon.
Everything kind of fell apart after that.
The unthinkable thing happens to you, and then, you know, people that don't know you think you're a murderer, you killed somebody.
Jeffrey's oldest daughter, Shyla, was just 7 years old when he went to prison. This is you visiting him in prison?
That's probably right after it happened. I was about, I would say 8 or 9 in that one, and still just trying to enjoy the moments.
Did anybody tell you why he was there?
No one told me specifically what had happened, but over the years I heard stuff, figured stuff out, and as I've gotten older, I totally get it. He's an innocent man and spent all this time in prison.
Did you ever wonder, maybe my dad did do this?
Never.
Never?
No.
Why not?
Because that's my dad. I know him, and he wouldn't hurt a fly.
For years, Quincy tried appealing his conviction to no avail, but he's now gained an army of advocates.
It's a very strong, supportive group of people who will not take no for an answer.
I just believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. My goal is to get Quincy Cross out.
He doesn't have a piece of evidence that links him toward anything.
But I know in my heart that he's innocent because there's nothing physical that puts him there. There's no DNA.
Quincy's supporters have worked to garner attention for his cause.
It was very exciting for me to be told that there was a podcast that was going to be done.
There is a new 6-part podcast, Bone Valley Season 3, Graves County, which explores the Jessica Curran case.
This is Graves County, Chapter 6, Something Rotten.
Now, more than 2 decades after the murder of Jessica Curran, the Kentucky Innocence Project has taken on Quincy's case.
There were a lot of markers of potential wrongful conviction. We believe we have the evidence to exonerate him and walk him out of prison. So that's our goal.
The Kentucky Innocence Project had their work cut out for them. It's very hard to get a conviction overturned in the state of Kentucky, or in most of the country, really. One of the many hurdles is that Quincy's attorneys have to present new evidence that points to his innocence.
They have filed a motion to vacate his conviction that includes new claims about those key witnesses at the trial.
Benicia Stubblefield and Victoria Caldwell in particular have said that they lied at the trial.
You're now saying that that story, that what you testified to in court, was a lie.
Yes, I didn't know nothing of that case. I didn't even know nothing about the murder even
So
being
why
took
did you
place.
say that?
Because I was forced to say it. That's the thing.
What did you say at the trial?
I was forced to say that Quincy Cross took part in it. I was forced to say that Jeffrey Burton and Tamara Caldwell had part in it, knowing that they didn't.
Were you, in fact, involved in that killing?
No, not at all.
How much of what you testified under oath was true and how much was not?
None of it was true.
Zero.
Zero. Nothing was true. I don't know nothing about this case. I wasn't there. I don't know all the people.
You testified about disturbing sexual acts involving Jessica's body. Did those take place?
No, not at all. Like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know anything at all.
But if it never happened, why provide such graphic detail?
Because they told me what to say.
In response to the motion, the state denies that witnesses were pressured to fabricate their stories or told what to say. They also point to this affidavit from 2016, where Victoria refutes that she lied at trial or was told to say something that wasn't true.
We never tried to get anybody to say anything that was not true.
Well, there's this thing called evidence. Justice and juries, and they weighed all the evidence, and Quincy's in prison. There's only been one conspiracy, and that's a conspiracy to kill Jessica Kern and to try to get away with it.
The state stands by Quincy's conviction. It argues that Victoria and Venetia's many lies to investigators were brought up at the trial and that a jury still convicted him. Why should we believe you now after all the lies you told?
I feel like I should believe because people who really know me know that I'm a genuine person. I would never put innocent people away. I would never do it.
Has anyone paid you or pressured you?
No, not
You're
at all.
doing this because?
I'm tired, and I think it's time for the truth to come out.
What would you say to them?
I would apologize to them, and I would tell them how sorry I am for them to get convicted.
But truly and honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope that each and every one of y'all can forgive me.
Can you forgive them?
Most definitely, I can forgive him. I already forgave him.
Now, it all comes down to this. A court date just hours ago for a hearing that may lead to a new trial for Quincy.
And I have an interest in the truth coming out.
All right, KIP file room. I think it's probably in one of these working files. Yep, here's the KBI investigation. We are preparing to present all of the new evidence, the mountain of new evidence, all of the different pieces that we have uncovered since trial that is new, that we believe a jury should have heard. It's different, right?
It all comes down to this hearing in this makeshift courthouse.
It's a big deal, and for a long time we didn't have no voice.
The Innocence Project making their case for Quincy to get a new trial. This could be your last chance.
Hey, it's all right. Sometimes we deal cards that we got to play, you know. But I know that I've done no wrong.
I am anxious. I am hoping for the best.
There is a lot on the line today. It just potentially could free us, so to speak.
All rise. Multiple witnesses and co-defendants gave perjured testimony that they have now recanted. And the now recanted statement is the only evidence that ever linked Mr. Cross to this crime.
I would just refer the court to the case law that recanted testimony after trial is viewed with distrust.
I know I'm going to have an evidentiary hearing. I'm going to focus only on the recantations of Venetia Stubblefield, Victoria Caldwell.
A major victory for Quincy and his supporters.
They did it for my brother, y'all.
We are very pleased with the judge's decision. We look forward to being able to put on the evidence in support of Quincy's innocence at the hearing.
Witnesses like Venetia and Victoria will be heard in person to tell their stories to the court. Also, what happened in the courtroom is the judge said, you know, if they get back up on the stand and say we lied, that's perjury. So that's a huge consideration for them.
And just outside the court, Jeff Burton on his knees, pleading with Venetia.
I'm begging. I've been through this a lot, and I'm so sorry that you had this.
And Venetia said, you know, they ruined my life too. I will do the right thing.
I always said that through all of this, something good's got to come out of it.
You know each other?
Yes, sir. We know each other. How you doing?
Quincy's dad has an unlikely ally joining him in this fight.
This is very unusual. The father of the victim and the father of the man convicted of killing her joining forces, trying to get answers.
Everybody thinks that this is an odd couple. We're not an odd couple because we want the same thing. He wants justice for his daughter. I want justice for my son.
I just don't think he could do the stuff that was done.
Tragedy brought you together.
Tragedy brought us together, and it's gonna keep us together until we get what we need, justice. I can't say I feel his pain, but I know he feels my pain, and I feel some of his pain.
Do I think that Joe can find some comfort in knowing he helped Quincy? I think is the most that he can get.
We've suffered through it a long, long time. And we just don't feel like we have a completion. Justice for Jessica would be finding the real people that murdered her. Sometimes I do believe she's guiding me. I do believe that she wants me to stay on the case all the way to the end, till the truth comes out. My promise to her is I won't ever stop. I don't quit.
That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.